High Chancellor Vekrim stood before the Galactic Council with 4 arms crossed behind his back. His scales gleamed under the station lights as he looked at the gathered representatives. Today they would discuss a small matter. A primitive planet called Earth had sent a message asking to join the galactic community. The council chamber buzzed with quiet conversation. Most members barely paid attention. Earth was just another backward world hoping for scraps from advanced civilizations. The planet had no visible fleet, no colonies beyond its own moon, and technology that seemed centuries behind galactic standards. Admiral Quileth clicked his mandibles together in amusement. The insectoid warrior commanded the Nexus Alliance fleet, the strongest military force in known space. He had reviewed Earth's file before the meeting. The humans had nothing, a few space stations, some mining operations. They were harmless. Trade Minister Solara pulsed with soft light as she calculated profit margins. Her crystalline body contained one of the sharpest economic minds in the galaxy. Earth would be valuable, she thought. New customers always were. They could sell the humans outdated technology at premium prices, extract resources through unfair trade deals. It was the standard approach for primitive worlds. High Chancellor Vekrim called for order. The terms were simple. Earth would receive junior protectorate status. They could trade with council members, but heavy taxes would apply. They could travel to nearby systems, but only with permission. Most importantly, Earth would acknowledge council authority over all major decisions affecting their world. It was a generous offer by council standards. Many species received far worse terms. Some were turned away entirely. The council members expected the human ambassador to accept immediately and express endless gratitude. Then, Ambassador Choi Sang-ho walked into the chamber. He was a middle-aged human with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a simple dark suit and carried a data tablet. Nothing about him seemed threatening or impressive. He bowed politely to the council and took his designated spot at the speaker platform. Vekrim presented the terms. His tone made it clear this was not a negotiation. The council had decided. Earth would accept or be denied contact entirely. Ambassador Choi listened carefully. He took notes. When Vekrim finished, Choi smiled politely. Then he asked a simple question that would change everything. Before we sign anything, would the council like to review Earth's current military assets? For registration purposes, of course. Several council members laughed. Military assets? From a pre-FTL civilization? Admiral Quileth made a dismissive gesture. There was no point. Everyone knew Earth had nothing worth reviewing. Ambassador Choi nodded as if he expected that response. Very well, he said. Perhaps a demonstration would be more appropriate. He tapped his tablet. A single command transmitted across space. Billions of kilometers away, Admiral Kang Tae-soo received the signal aboard the command ship UES Avalanche. The elderly officer had waited 300 years for this moment. Not personally, of course, but humanity had waited, prepared, built. And now it was time to show the galaxy what Earth had become. Drop the concealment fields, he ordered. Across 1,000 light-years of space, something impossible happened. Advanced sensor networks that monitored every corner of civilized space suddenly detected massive energy signatures. Hundreds of them. Then thousands, then tens of thousands. Space itself seemed to tear open as hyperspace windows bloomed like flowers. Through each window came ships, warships, human warships of every size and class, sleek destroyers, massive battle carriers, enormous dreadnoughts bristling with weapons. They kept coming in perfect formation. Captain Park Ji-woo stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and watched her tactical display fill with friendly contacts. She was 32 years old and commanded one of humanity's most powerful vessels. Around her, the 7th Strike Fleet emerged from hyperspace exactly on schedule. 10,000 ships moving as one, and they were just one small part of the total force. In the council chamber, alarms began screaming. Sensor officers shouted reports that made no sense. The numbers were impossible. 100,000 ships, 500,000, 800,000. The sensors kept counting. 1 million warships had emerged from Earth's hidden reserves. They took up carefully planned positions throughout the sector. The fleet was so vast it appeared as a new constellation, visible from dozens of inhabited worlds. Each ship broadcast the same identification code: United Earth Defense Fleet. High Chancellor Vekrim stared at the main display in total silence. His mind refused to accept what he was seeing. This was impossible. A pre-FTL world could not build a fleet like this, could not coordinate such a massive operation, could not have hidden it for so long. But the evidence blazed across every sensor screen in the chamber. Admiral Quileth felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. His Nexus Alliance. Fleet numbered 90,000 ships. He had believed that made him invincible. Now he stared at sensors showing a human fleet more than 10 times larger. And every analysis confirmed these were real warships, not holograms or sensor ghosts. Trade Minister Solara's calculations shattered. Her entire economic model assumed Earth was poor and desperate. But the industrial capacity required to build this fleet suggested an economy larger than anything in known space. These were not customers begging for trade. These were equals. No, these were superiors. Ambassador Choi watched the Council's reaction with quiet satisfaction. He had been a military intelligence officer before becoming a diplomat. He knew exactly how to deliver a message. Sometimes you had to show your strength all at once. Let the shock do its work. Every council member received the same transmission simultaneously. The message was polite but firm. The United Earth Defense Fleet greets the galaxy. We look forward to equitable negotiations. Equitable, not subordinate. Not grateful for whatever scraps the council offered. Equitable, Ambassador Choi spoke into the stunned silence. Now then, he said calmly, shall we discuss new terms for Earth's entry into the galactic community? I think you will find we have much to offer, and we expect to be treated as full partners. Several alien representatives fainted. Others began frantically sending emergency messages to their home governments. A few simply stared at the displays in shock. On Earth, Dr. Lee Hyun-ae watched the Council's response through intercepted communications. The chief engineer smiled. Her hyperdrive technology had made this possible. 300 years ago, humanity had detected alien transmissions and realized the galaxy was hostile to newcomers. So they had made a choice. Go dark, build in secret, and emerge only when ready. She looked out at Earth's orbital shipyards. Thousands more ships waited there. The million-ship fleet was just the beginning. Earth could build more, many more. The galaxy had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. Back in the council chamber, High Chancellor Vekrim finally found his voice. He looked at Ambassador Choi with new eyes. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something else. Respect and fear. Perhaps, Vekrim said slowly, we should reconsider our initial offer. Earth clearly deserves a position of honor within the galactic community. Ambassador Choi smiled. That would be wise, he agreed. The galaxy had just learned a hard lesson. Never underestimate humanity. And never assume silence means weakness. Sometimes the quiet ones are simply waiting for the right moment to speak, and when they do, the stars themselves tremble. The galaxy erupted in chaos within hours of the fleet's emergence. Stock markets crashed on 50 worlds. Emergency sessions were called in every major government. Military coalitions formed and dissolved as everyone tried to understand what humanity wanted and how to respond. Trade Minister Solara worked through the night analyzing data. Her crystalline form dimmed as exhaustion set in, but she could not stop. The numbers told a terrifying story. Based on the fleet's composition, Earth's industrial capacity exceeded the entire galactic economy, and they had achieved this in secret, in a single star system in just 3 centuries. She prepared her report for the Emergency Council session. Her conclusions were simple but devastating. Humanity did not need galactic trade. The galaxy needed human trade. Every economic advantage the Council had enjoyed for thousands of years had evaporated overnight. Admiral Quileth convened his military advisors aboard his flagship. The insectoid commander had stopped laughing. His analysts had studied the human fleet for days now. Their assessment made his mandibles click nervously. In any conventional war, humanity would win within months. The advantage was not just numbers. It was coordination, logistics, and something the galaxy had forgotten. Unity of purpose. The galaxy has been playing at war for 10,000 years, his chief strategist reported. Small border conflicts, diplomatic posturing, raids for territory. The humans prepared for total war. Look at their formations. Every ship positioned for maximum tactical advantage. This fleet is not for show. It is designed to win. The Council demanded proof. Some members insisted the fleet must be an elaborate deception, Holograms or sensor manipulation. No species could hide such capability. High Chancellor Vekrim, despite his shock, knew they needed answers. He contacted Ambassador Choi and requested a demonstration. Choi agreed immediately. That was another warning sign. Confident people agreed to tests. Captain Park Ji-woo received her orders with satisfaction. Admiral Kang Tae-soo wanted the 7th Strike Fleet to demonstrate human capabilities. Just 10,000 ships, 1% of the total fleet. But it would be enough. The demonstration took place in an uninhabited system. The Council sent observers from 20 different civilizations. Each brought their best sensors and military analysts. They wanted to see everything, and humanity showed them everything. The 7th Strike Fleet performed a full combat exercise. 10,000 ships moved with machine precision. They executed hyperspace jumps that placed vessels within meters of designated coordinates. The observers checked their sensors repeatedly. Such accuracy should be impossible. Hyperspace navigation always had margins of error measured in thousands of kilometers. The human ships had margins measured in meters. The weapons demonstration came next. The fleet targeted asteroids throughout the system. Coordinated weapons fire converted rock into plasma in seconds. The precision was terrifying. Not a single shot missed. Not a single ship fired out of sequence. It was like watching a single organism with 10,000 parts. Then came the defensive tests. Mock attacks simulated incoming missiles and energy weapons. Human point defense systems intercepted 99.8% of all incoming fire. The observers did not know what shocked them more: the high success rate or the fact that humans measured failure in decimal points. The final demonstration involved ground forces. Colonel Han Bo-ra led her Marines in an assault on an airless moon. The observers watched as human soldiers established a fortified base in under 4 hours. The speed was impossible. The efficiency was frightening. These were not just warriors. They were construction crews who could fight. One observer, a veteran military analyst from the Drax hegemony, sent a report back to his government. His message was brief. That was 1% of their fleet. 1%. They could conquer half the galaxy with it. What could they do with all of it? Nobody wanted to find out. While the galaxy processed what they had seen, Ambassador Choi began his diplomatic campaign. He met with representatives from every major civilization. His message was carefully crafted. Earth wanted peaceful coexistence and mutually beneficial trade. But humanity would accept nothing less than equal status and respect. Any attempt to treat Earth as a tributary or vassal would be met with appropriate responses. The fleet would remain deployed for security purposes until Earth's position in galactic society was formalized. The threat was implicit, but clear. Humanity offered peace. Do not force them to demonstrate their capacity for war. Not everyone accepted the new reality gracefully. The Drax hegemony and Nexus alliance, previously bitter rivals, began secret talks about a defensive pact. If they combined their fleets, they might have enough ships to challenge Earth. Might. The word haunted their planning sessions. Other civilizations took a different approach. 17 minor powers formally requested Earth protection and alliance. They had been bullied by larger neighbors for generations. Now they saw an opportunity. Align with humanity and gain security. Admiral Kang Tae-soo reviewed these requests aboard the UES Avalanche. Each one represented a strategic opportunity. Accept these alliances and humanity would have footholds throughout the galaxy. But it also meant obligations. Earth would have to protect these worlds. He approved them all, not out of kindness, though humanity valued its promises, but because it sent a message. Earth honored its commitments. Cross our allies and face our wrath. Dr. Lee Hyun-ae made a calculated decision. Earth would share some of its technology with the galaxy. Not the advanced systems, of course, but improvements to basic infrastructure, better power generation, more efficient life support, enhanced communication systems. She released these as open-source technology, free for anyone to use. The gesture seemed generous. It was actually brilliant strategy. Every civilization that adopted human technology became dependent on human standards. Within years, galactic infrastructure would be built on human designs. Earth would control the galaxy without firing a shot. Dr. Nam Jae-hoon, humanity's chief xenobiologist, published his first major study. He had spent months analyzing galactic civilizations. His conclusions fascinated and disturbed those who read them carefully. Galactic species evolved under different pressures than humanity, he wrote. Many come from worlds without significant predators. Others achieve spaceflight through gradual cooperative development. Conflict for them is aberrant, unnatural. Humans evolved in constant competition. We fought each other, our environment, and predators for millions of years. War is in our DNA, not as bloodlust, but as strategic thinking, adaptability, and the ability to coordinate large-scale efforts under pressure. The galaxy has been at peace so long they forgot how to fight. We never forgot. We just got better at it. The report circulated among military planners across the galaxy. Many found it deeply unsettling. Jae-hoon was saying that human dominance was not temporary or technological. It was evolutionary. Humanity was built for this in ways other species were not. 3 months after the fleet's emergence, the Galactic Council met to vote on Earth status. The session was tense. Everyone knew what was at stake. Accept humanity as equals or face an uncertain future. High Chancellor Vekrim called for the vote. The proposal granted Earth a permanent seat on the Council with veto power, full trading rights with no special taxes, recognition as a sovereign power with all associated privileges. The vote was unanimous, not because everyone liked it, but because everyone understood the alternative. Ambassador Choi accepted the Council's decision with grace. He thanked them for their wisdom and promised that Earth would be a responsible member of the galactic community. But everyone in that chamber knew the truth. Earth was not joining the galactic community. The galactic community was joining Earth's sphere of influence. The power dynamics had shifted completely, and they would never shift back. That night, Captain Park Ji-woo stood on the observation deck of the UES Indomitable and looked out at the stars. Human ships now patrolled everywhere. Trade routes, strategic systems, allied territories. The million-ship fleet had dispersed across the galaxy like blood through veins. She thought about her grandfather. He had been a starship engineer when humanity first detected alien transmissions. The decision to hide, to build, to prepare. It must have been difficult. Knowing there were other civilizations out there but choosing isolation. But that generation had been wise. They understood something fundamental. In the galaxy there were predators and prey, and humanity would never be prey again. 3 months had passed since the fleet emerged. The initial shock had faded. Some galactic powers began testing humanity's resolve. The Krell Dominion, an aggressive empire known for territorial expansion, decided that Earth was bluffing. Their logic was simple. No species would build such a fleet and not use it for conquest. Therefore, the fleet must be a deception. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Krell commander was a veteran warrior named Throck. He had won 50 battles and conquered 12 worlds. He looked at the reports about Earth's fleet and laughed. Numbers meant nothing without the will to use them, and primitive species never had that will. He led 200 Krell warships into a contested border region. The system had mineral-rich asteroids and sat near human-protected space. It was a perfect test. If humans responded with force, the Krell would retreat and regroup. If humans complained through diplomatic channels, it would prove they were weak. Throck expected diplomacy. He got Captain Park Ji-woo instead. Aboard the UES Avalanche, Admiral Kang Tae-soo reviewed the situation with his senior staff. The Krell incursion was clearly a probe. Other civilizations were watching. How Earth responded would set precedents for years to come. Captain Park Ji-woo argued for a strong response. Show overwhelming force. Make an example. Ambassador Choi suggested this was an opportunity, not to start a war but to end all future provocations. Admiral Tae-soo made his decision. Operation Clear Message would commence immediately. Commander Throck sat on his command throne feeling confident. His sensors showed the surrounding space was clear. The humans had not responded. Perhaps they would not respond at all. He began issuing orders to establish mining operations. Then his sensor officer made a strangled sound. Contacts, the officer reported. 30,000 contacts. All around us, the tactical display showed an impossible sight. The 3rd, 7th, and 12th strike fleets had emerged from hyperspace in a perfect sphere around the Krell vessels. 30,000 human warships surrounding 200 Krell ships. And the Krell sensors had not detected their approach until they appeared. That alone was terrifying. Captain Park Ji-woo opened a communication channel. Her voice was calm and professional. Krell vessels, you have entered territory under Earth protection. You have 1 hour to withdraw. This is your only warning. Commander Throck felt his confidence drain away, but he was a warrior. He had a reputation to maintain. He opened his own channel and tried to bluff. He claimed ancient Krell rights to the system. He threatened war. He demanded the humans disperse immediately. Captain Jiwoo listened to the entire speech without interrupting. Then she muted the channel and checked her chronometer. 58 minutes remaining. The hour passed in tense silence. Throck tried every negotiating tactic he knew. Threats, bribes, appeals to honor. Nothing worked. The human commander simply waited. At exactly 1 hour, Jiwoo gave the order, execute. What followed was not a battle. It was a clinical demonstration of overwhelming superiority. Every Krell ship lost propulsion simultaneously. Not destroyed, disabled. The precision was terrifying. Human weapons had targeted specific systems on 200 ships at the exact same moment. The Krell crews found themselves floating helplessly while 30,000 human warships maintained perfect formation around them. Then the boarding parties arrived. Colonel Han Bo-Ra led the assault on Throck's flagship. She had trained for this her entire career. Her Marines moved through the Krell ship like a precision instrument. Every corridor cleared. Every defensive position neutralized. They used non-lethal weapons where possible, eliminating resistance without killing. The Krell security forces were considered elite warriors. They had defeated enemies across dozens of worlds. They lasted 14 minutes against human Marines. Commander Throck found himself in his own command center with a human rifle pointed at his head. Colonel Han Bo-Ra removed her helmet and smiled. "The battle is over," she said. "You lost. The entire operation was recorded and broadcast across galactic channels. The footage showed human forces moving with machine-like efficiency. Perfect communication, flawless coordination, not a single mistake, most importantly, not a single casualty on either side. It was not war. It was pest control." Admiral Kang Tae-Soo released a statement that was broadcast to every civilization. "The Krell vessels and crews will be returned unharmed. Earth has no interest in conquest or destruction. However, we will protect our interests and those of our allies. Let this serve as a lesson. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war. Choose wisely." The Krell Dominion sued for peace within a week. Their government sent formal apologies. They recognized Earth's territorial claims. They requested trade agreements. The humiliation was complete and public. Other galactic powers took note. If the Krell, known for their military strength, could be defeated so easily, what chance did anyone else have? The incident triggered a transformation in galactic politics. Within a month, 34 civilizations formally requested Earth protection. Trade negotiations that had been stalled suddenly moved forward. Military alliances that excluded Earth dissolved. Admiral Quileth watched these developments with growing concern. He had commanded the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Now he commanded the second most powerful fleet, and the gap was enormous. He called a secret meeting with other military leaders to discuss options. Their conclusion was sobering. Direct military confrontation with Earth was impossible. Any coalition would be outnumbered and outfought. But Quileth proposed an alternative strategy. Make humanity indispensable. Draw them into maintaining galactic security. Let them take on the burden of protecting hundreds of civilizations. Eventually, the costs and complications would strain even Earth's resources. It was a long-term plan. But it was the only plan that might work. Dr. Nam Jae-hoon published a follow-up study on the Krell incident. His analysis was coldly clinical. The Krell lost because they approached the confrontation as a test of strength. Humans approached it as a problem to solve. Strength was just one tool among many. Precision, timing, psychology, logistics. Humans excelled at all of them. His report included a warning. Do not mistake human preference for peace as an inability to make war. They are extraordinarily good at both. The difference is that humans choose peace when possible and war when necessary. They do not confuse the two. The Galactic Council began drafting a new charter. It granted Earth unprecedented authority, a permanent seat with veto power, the right to maintain military forces anywhere in Council space. Most significantly, the authority to enforce Council decisions with military force if necessary. Ambassador Choi reviewed the draft charter with satisfaction. It gave Earth exactly what they wanted. Not dominion, but security. Not conquest, but influence. The galaxy was learning to work with humanity, rather than against them. High Chancellor Vekrium signed the charter personally. He looked older than he had 3 months ago. The stress of managing Earth's emergence had taken its toll. But he had learned something valuable. Fighting humanity was pointless. Working with them was the only rational choice. Captain Park Ji-woo received a promotion. She was now the youngest admiral in human history. Her success in the Krell operation had made her famous. But she remained focused on her duty. Earth's fleet needed commanders who understood that power meant nothing without wisdom. She stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and looked at the star maps. Human ships now patrolled everywhere, protecting trade routes, responding to distress calls, maintaining peace. The galaxy was safer than it had been in centuries, and it was all because humanity had done what they did best. They had planned carefully, prepared thoroughly, and executed perfectly. The galaxy had tested Earth's resolve and found it unbreakable. Now they knew. When humanity made a promise, they kept it, and when humanity drew a line, you did not cross it. The stars trembled not from fear, but from the certainty that humanity would protect them. That was the real demonstration of power, not the ability to destroy, but the will to defend. 1 year had passed since Earth's emergence. The transformation was remarkable. Human ships patrolled every major trade route. Piracy had dropped by 90%. Smuggling was nearly impossible. The galaxy had not been this safe in recorded history, but safety came with a price. Earth now shouldered the burden of galactic security, and some civilizations hoped that burden would eventually prove too heavy. Admiral Quileth had not abandoned his strategy. He worked carefully, planting seeds of dependence. Every time a crisis emerged, he ensured the Council turned to Earth for help. Every time pirates raided a shipping lane, he made sure Earth forces responded. Slowly, methodically, he was making humanity indispensable. The test came from an unexpected direction. The Outer Rim was a lawless region beyond Council authority. For 10,000 years, it had resisted every attempt at civilization. Raiders, pirates, and warlords ruled there. Trade ships avoided it entirely. Then the Outer Rim erupted in violence. Raiders formed a loose confederation and began attacking border colonies. They struck fast and disappeared into the chaotic systems where sensors barely worked. Previous attempts to pacify the Outer Rim had failed catastrophically. The Council held an emergency session. High Chancellor Vekrim presented the problem. Then, almost reluctantly, he turned to Ambassador Choi. Would Earth be willing to help? Admiral Kang Tae-soo saw the trap immediately. This could become a quagmire, an endless commitment to police a region that had defeated every previous attempt. The Council was testing whether Earth's military might had limits. He called a meeting aboard the UES Avalanche. His senior commanders gathered to discuss options. Captain Park Ji-woo, now promoted to admiral, argued for a strong response. Colonel Han Bo-ra wanted to deploy Marines. Ambassador Choi pointed out the political implications. Refuse and Earth looks weak. Accept and risk overextension. Admiral Tae-soo listened to all perspectives. Then he made his decision. Earth would help. But not gradually. Not with measured responses. Operation Steel Resolve would show the galaxy that humanity did not do things halfway. The plan was audacious. Deploy 200,000 ships, 20% of Earth's total fleet. Strike every significant target in the Outer Rim simultaneously. Pacify the entire region in one overwhelming campaign. The operation unfolded in 3 weeks. Week 1 was reconnaissance. Human drones mapped every installation, base, and ship in the Outer Rim. Dr. Nam Jae-hoon's teams analyzed the social structures of every raider faction. They identified leaders, supply routes, and power dynamics. The raiders had no idea they were being watched. Week 2 was execution. At precisely the same moment, human forces struck 500 targets across the Outer Rim. Every major pirate base, every warlord stronghold, every raider fleet. The coordination was perfect. The surprise was complete. Raiders who had terrorized the region for generations found themselves facing overwhelming force. Human ships appeared from hyperspace with weapons already locked on target. Marines boarded stations before defenders could organize. It was not a battle. It was a sweep. Some raiders surrendered immediately. Others fought and lost within hours. A few tried to flee and were intercepted before they could jump to hyperspace. By the end of Week 2, organized resistance in the Outer Rim had ceased to exist. Week 3 was consolidation. Colonel Han Bo-ra's Marines established forward operating bases throughout the region. They set up sensor networks, patrol routes, and communication relays. A permanent human presence was deployed to maintain security. The Outer Rim, lawless for 10,000 years, was pacified in less than a month. Admiral Quyleth stared at the reports in disbelief. His plan had backfired spectacularly. He had hoped the Outer Rim would drain Earth's resources. Instead, humanity had solved a problem the galaxy had given up on, and they had made it look easy. Admiral Kang Tae-Soo addressed the Galactic Council personally. His message was clear and firm. Some of you may have hoped the Outer Rim would become Earth's problem, a drain on our resources. I understand the reasoning, but you underestimate us. We did not build 1,000,000 warships to fight battles. We built them to prevent wars. The Outer Rim is now secure. Trade can flourish there. But let me be clear. Earth is not the galaxy's mercenary. We will help those who help themselves. We will protect our allies, but we will not be manipulated. The message resonated across the galaxy. Humanity had seen through the trap and overcome it so decisively that no one would try it again. Trade Minister Solara saw opportunity in the new situation. She proposed the Galactic Free Trade Initiative with Earth at its center. Her framework was brilliant. It leveraged human strengths while allowing other civilizations to focus on their specialties. Earth would handle manufacturing, security, and logistics. Other civilizations would contribute arts, theoretical science, and exotic resources. Everyone would benefit, but Earth would be the foundation that everything else was built on. The proposal passed the Council unanimously, not because everyone loved it, but because everyone recognized that fighting economic reality was pointless. Better to profit from the new order than resist it. Dr. Lee Hyuni established the Terran Institute of Advanced Research. She invited alien scientists to collaborate on projects. The offer was genuine. Humanity could learn from other civilizations. But the implicit message was clear. Even in cooperation, Earth would lead. The Institute's first breakthrough combined human engineering with alien theoretical physics. The result was a new type of shield generator that was twice as efficient as anything previously created. Neither humans nor aliens could have achieved it alone. It proved an important point. Humanity was not trying to dominate through suppression. They were offering partnership, but partnership on human terms. Admiral Park Ji-woo took command of the newly formed Galactic Defense Initiative. It was a joint military force combining human and alien personnel. She spent months developing training programs that worked for different species, teaching human tactics without expecting aliens to become human. The results surprised everyone. Alien soldiers thrived under human instruction. They learned faster and performed better than their own military systems had ever achieved. It was not that aliens were inferior. They had simply never had access to human training methods. Within 6 months, the Galactic Defense Initiative was the most professional military force outside Earth's own fleet. Admiral Ji-woo had created something new, a truly galactic military that maintained human standards. High Chancellor Vekrim watched these developments with mixed feelings. Earth was transforming the galaxy. Trade was booming. Security was unprecedented. Standards of living were rising everywhere. But galactic civilization was becoming fundamentally human in character. He met privately with Ambassador Choi to discuss his concerns. Choi listened carefully. Then he offered a perspective that Vekrim had not considered. Human civilization is adaptable, Choi explained. We absorb ideas from others. Look at Earth's history. We have thousands of cultures, languages, and traditions, all existing together, all contributing to the whole. We are not trying to make the galaxy human. We are trying to make it better. The difference is important. We bring organization and security, but we also value diversity. Every species has something unique to offer. We just want to make sure everyone has the chance to offer it safely. Vekrim considered those words carefully. Perhaps humanity's emergence was not a conquest. Perhaps it was an evolution. The galaxy had been stagnant for millennia. Now it was dynamic again, growing, changing, improving, and yes, Earth was at the center of that change. But maybe that was not such a terrible thing. Admiral Kang Tae-Soo prepared for retirement. His work was complete. Earth's position was secure. The fleet was stronger than ever. Trade was flourishing. The galaxy had accepted humanity as partners rather than threats. He stood on the observation deck of the UES Avalanche one final time. He looked out at the stars and thought about the journey. 300 years of secret preparation, the risk of emerging, the careful demonstration of power, the measured response to challenges. Everything had worked because humanity had planned well. They had not rushed. They had not overreached. They had shown strength without cruelty, power without arrogance. The galaxy would be different now. Better, he hoped. And humanity would ensure it stayed that way. That was the real achievement. Not conquering the stars, protecting them. 5 years had passed since the million ships emerged from Earth. The galaxy had transformed completely. Human influence touched every aspect of galactic life. But humanity's greatest achievement was not domination. It was integration. Earth's fleet had grown to 1.5 million ships. But 30% of them now had mixed crews. Humans working alongside aliens who served in the United Earth Defense Fleet. It was a remarkable sight. Species that had been strangers 5 years ago now fought side by side. Human colonies existed on 200 worlds, each one established with local permission and following strict protocols. Earth did not take. They asked, and more often than not, worlds welcomed human presence. The security and prosperity that came with it were undeniable. The Terran Institute had made 3 major breakthroughs combining human and alien knowledge. New medical treatments, advanced energy systems, communication technology that worked across previously impossible distances, achievements that neither humans nor aliens could have reached alone. Galactic crime had dropped 85%. Trade had increased 400%. Standards of living were rising everywhere. And most remarkably, there had not been a major war in 5 years. The Pax Terra held firm. High Chancellor Vekrim prepared for retirement. He had served on the Council for 40 years. He had seen the galaxy at its best and worst. And now, in his final days in office, he witnessed something he had never expected. Hope. He convened one last council session. A special meeting to honor Earth's contribution to galactic civilization. He invited Admiral Kang Tae-Soo to speak. The elderly human officer had retired years ago, but agreed to make one final appearance. Tae-Soo walked slowly to the speaker platform. Age had bent his back slightly, but his eyes remained sharp. He looked at the assembled representatives. Many of the faces were different from 5 years ago, but the species were the same, and they all waited to hear what he would say. 5 years ago, Tae-Soo began, Earth revealed itself to the galaxy. You were terrified. You had good reason to be. We possessed overwhelming military power, and you knew nothing about our intentions. Some of you expected conquest, others expected exploitation. But we offered partnership, not because we are perfect beings, but because we understood something fundamental. Military power is useless without purpose. Economic strength is empty without shared prosperity. Technology means nothing without wisdom in its use. Humanity spent 300 years preparing, not for war, but for this moment. We built a fleet not to conquer, but to protect. We developed technology not to dominate, but to share. We emerged not as conquerors, but as partners. The galaxy is vast. There is room for all of us. Earth's fleet makes the stars tremble not with fear, but with the promise of protection. Our strength guarantees that civilizations can flourish without worry. Our technology helps all of us reach further. But let no one mistake kindness for weakness. The million warships that emerged 5 years ago were not empty threats. They were a promise. Try to harm us or our allies, and you will discover that humanity's capacity for war matches its capacity for peace. We prefer peace, but we are always prepared for both. The stars belong to all of us, but they are safest in human hands. This is not arrogance. It is simply fact, and the galaxy has learned to accept it. The council chamber erupted in applause. Even those who had initially opposed Earth's emergence recognized the truth in Tae-Soo's words. The galaxy was better now, safer, more prosperous, more unified. Admiral Park Ji-woo commanded the Galactic Defense Initiative from her flagship. She was no longer the youngest admiral. New officers were rising through the ranks, but she remained one of the most respected. Her record spoke for itself. Dozens of successful operations. 0 unnecessary casualties. Perfect judgment. She looked at her bridge crew. 3 humans, 2 insectoids, 1 crystalline being, 1 reptilian. They worked together seamlessly. That was the real victory. Not forcing everyone to become human, but teaching everyone to work like humans did. With precision. With purpose. With pride. Dr. Lee Hyuni won the first Galactic Science Prize. Her acceptance speech was brief and humble. She credited her entire team, human and alien scientists working together. She announced her next project. A new generation of hyperdrive that would make interstellar travel as common as air flight once was on Earth. The galaxy would shrink again. Distances that took weeks to travel would take days. Remote colonies would become connected. Isolated civilizations would join the community. All because humans refused to accept limitations. Ambassador Choi Sang-ho became Earth's first galactic chancellor, a position created specifically for humanity. He oversaw diplomatic relations across 200 civilizations. His reputation for fairness and steel trap thinking made him respected everywhere. He often thought about that first council meeting, walking into a room full of arrogant aliens who saw Earth as primitive, watching their faces as the fleet emerged. It had been satisfying. But building what came after was more satisfying still. Colonel Han Bo-ra, now General Han Bo-ra, trained the next generation of Marines. Her methods were demanding but fair. She pushed every soldier to their limits and then beyond, but she never asked anyone to do something she could not do herself. The phrase Marine tough had spread across the galaxy. It meant excellence, determination, unbreakable spirit. Alien soldiers wore the title with pride. They had earned it through the same brutal training humans endured. There were no shortcuts, no special considerations, just standards that everyone met or failed. Dr. Nam Jae-hoon published his comprehensive work, Understanding the Galaxy, A Human Perspective. It became required reading for diplomats and military officers everywhere. His insights helped both humans and aliens understand each other better, not to erase differences but to work with them. He was currently advising on first contact protocols for newly discovered civilizations. The galaxy kept expanding, and now, thanks to human exploration, they were finding species that had been isolated for millennia. Bringing them into the community carefully was crucial work. Admiral Quileth accepted a position as Chief Military Advisor to the Galactic Defense Initiative. He worked under Admiral Park Ji-woo now. It was humbling, but also educational. He had spent his career believing he understood warfare. Humans taught him how much he had missed. He admitted freely that he had tried to undermine Earth. The Outer Rim operation was meant to be a trap. Instead, it became a demonstration of human excellence. I learned something valuable, he often said. Humanity does not fight to win battles. They fight to win wars. And they won this war before the first shot was fired. Trade Minister Solara became the wealthiest individual in the galaxy. She had bet on humanity early and profited immensely, but she also became Earth's strongest advocate on the council. She understood what others did not. Humanity was not emerging as conquerors. They were emerging as the future. Smart people invested in the future. A new dreadnought was christened at Earth's orbital shipyards, the UES Eternity. The ceremony was attended by dignitaries from 100 civilizations. The ship was a marvel of engineering, 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons, capable of projecting power across entire sectors, but it was also beautiful. Sleek lines, elegant design. It looked fast even sitting still. That was very human, making something functional also aesthetically pleasing. As the ship launched, cameras pulled back to show the context. Thousands of ships in dock, millions more on patrol across the galaxy. The solar system had become the busiest hub in known space. Ships from 100 worlds arrived and departed every hour. Admiral Kang Tae-soo watched from his retirement home on Mars. He was old now, his body tired, but his mind remained sharp. He thought about that day 5 years ago, when Ambassador Choi asked a simple question and changed everything. Before we sign anything, would the Council like to review Earth's current military assets? The galaxy had laughed. Then the fleet emerged, and the laughter died. Tae-soo smiled. Humanity had not conquered the stars. They had organized them, given them structure, purpose, safety. That was more impressive than any conquest. Aboard the UES Eternity, 2 young officers stood on the observation deck. One was human. The other was an insectoid from the Nexus Alliance. They had graduated from the academy together, trained together. Now they would serve together. The alien spoke first. Do humans ever feel bad about how much power you have? The human considered the question. Sometimes, she admitted. But then we remember why we sought power, not for its own sake. We sought it so no one could make us afraid again. And along the way we made the galaxy safer for everyone. The alien clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The other species call you humans terrifying. The human nodded. Good. Fear keeps people honest. But they also call us fair. And that is the important part. The UES Eternity jumped to hyperspace on its maiden voyage. A million other human warships stood guard across the galaxy, protecting trade routes, responding to distress calls, maintaining peace. The stars trembled, but they were safe. That was always the point. Not to make the galaxy fear Earth, but to make it trust humanity. Trust that when humans made promises, they kept them. Trust that when humans drew lines, they defended them. Trust that human strength would protect rather than threaten.